This is Korea News for January 30, 2022. The Japanese government said on the 30th that North Korea has launched its seventh missile this year, and the missile appears to be a ballistic missile and has landed outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. According to Japanese public broadcaster NHK, Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno held a press conference on the same day and said, North Korea fired a ballistic missile from the interior of North Korea to the east around 7:52 am that day. If the ballistic missile is a normal ballistic orbit, it is estimated that it flew at an altitude of about 2,000 kilometers, flight time of about 30 minutes, and about 800 kilometers, and fell outside Japan's EEZ, he said. The launch of such a ballistic missile violates a resolution of the UN Security Council, Matsuno said. He added, in order to protect people's lives and property, we will continue to do our best to collect, analyze, and monitor information, and if additional information is obtained in the future, it will be announced promptly. The Japan Coast Guard is checking whether damage has occurred in the surrounding waters, but information on damage to Japanese ships has not yet been received, NHK reported. The Japanese government has convened an emergency team at the Government Office Countermeasures Office installed at the Prime Minister's Office Crisis Management Center and is in the process of collecting information and checking damage. In addition, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida instructed to provide accurate information to the public, thoroughly check the safety of aircraft and ships, and take full precautions to prepare for unexpected situations, NHK reported. According to the South Korean military, North Korea fired one projectile, presumed to be a ballistic missile, from the Jagong province area on the same day. The military reported this news to the media around 7:52 am. The Japanese Ministry of Defense also announced at 8 am on the same day that a projectile with the possibility of a ballistic missile was launched from North Korea. North Korea's missile launch is the seventh this year. Previously, North Korea conducted test launches of hypersonic missiles on the 5th and 11th, followed by short-range ballistic missiles on the 14th and 17th, long-range cruise missiles on the 25th, and surface-to-ground tactical guided missiles on the 27th. When Lee Jae-myung, the presidential candidate of the Democratic Party, was in office as governor of Gyeonggi-do, a public official from the Gyeonggi provincial office at that time also ran an errand for Lee Dong-ho, the eldest son of the candidate. On the 29th, TV Chosun reported on the suspicion of private use of public officials by Lee's family, citing the assertion of Mr. According to the media, Person A visited a general hospital in Goyang during business hours under the direction of an employee belonging to the General Affairs Department of the Provincial Government Office in June last year. It was to go through discharge procedures and receive prescription drugs on behalf of candidate Jae-myung Lee's eldest son. Earlier, SBS reported on the suspicious use of public officials by Kim Hye-kyung, the wife of presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung, citing the claim of former Secretary A that Mr. A had retired from working in the Secretariat of the Gyeonggi provincial government since the beginning of last year. According to SBS, Mr. A claimed, more than 90% of the daily routine was minor errands related to Kim Hye-kyung. However, SBS reported that there was no clear evidence in the current coverage that Mr. Kim ordered Mr. A to run the errand directly or through Mr. B, a civil servant at the Songnam provincial office, to run the errand. In response, the Democratic Party's election committee distributed a text message to the press stating that it was Mr. Bay's position without issuing a separate position in the name of the leader. According to this, COB said, I was hired in Gyeonggi province as a foreign cooperation officer, and I was never hired as an assistant secretary. He continued, there are many attempts to intervene in the election by spreading false information. We will not stand still, he said. The Democratic Party and the People's Power will continue working-level negotiations between presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung and presidential candidate Yoon Suk-yeol at 11 am on the 30th. Park Joo-min, head of the Democratic Party's broadcast debate content, and Song Il-jong, head of the People's Strength TV debate negotiator, continued negotiations for about 2 hours on the 29th, but could not narrow their differences over the discussion method. The Democratic Party proposed to the People's Power to discuss the topics of economics for livelihood, foreign security, and moral verification in the debate scheduled for the 31st, but the People's Power was able to use this method in such a way that the core allegations surrounding this candidate, such as Daejeongdong development and Songnam FC bribery, etc. He insisted on free discussion, saying it was difficult to deal with the issue of the People's Power side is in the position that it will not engage in bilateral discussions unless differences of opinion are resolved. People's Power when party leader Lee Junseok mentioned the cost of the election and talked about Ahn Cheol-soo's will to complete the election, the People's Party responded by saying, I hope that the leader of the party will close his light mouth. Then he said, candidate AHN has completed the presidential election. Shin Nari, deputy spokesperson for the Central Election Committee of the People's Party, said in a comment on the 29th, Lee Junseok, the leader of the People's Power, who said he did not even think about unification, has now started to get involved in other parties' livelihoods. Please stop the sophistication that links the execution of valid advertisements to the possibility of completing the presidential election unless it is to add to the election. He then pointed out, how frightening and terrifying is Ahn Cheol-soo's completion of the presidential election, so that he speaks such nonsensical nonsense. He added, candidate Ahn Cheol-soo is making all the necessary preparations to complete the presidential election and win the election according to the schedule. Please close your light mouth. People's Party spokesman Hong Kyung-hee also said in a comment, Ahn Cheol-soo's Maginot Line is on March 9. Spokesperson Hong said, we also signed an online advertisement contract. Earlier, Lee Junseok, leader of the People's Power Party, appeared on MBC Radio this morning and dismissed the possibility of unification of the opposition candidate with the People's Party presidential candidate Ahn Cheol-soo, saying, it was the Maginot Line before the Lunar New Year holidays. In particular, Lee Junseok, leader of the People's Power Party, said, this week, each party signs an online advertisement contract. The size of the contract varies depending on the party, but the maximum is 6 billion won. He said, I think that the party that signed the contract has a will to finish it, and the party that does not have the will to finish it is low. He said, in the current situation, it is a considerable risk for the People's Party to spend 40 billion won like the last election. Actor Lee Sang-yoon was diagnosed with the new Corona-19. On the 29th, Lee Sang-yoon's agency, J-Wide Company, said, Lee Sang-yoon tested positive on the same day and is self-isolating at home and has no serious symptoms. It is known that Lee Sang-yoon was even vaccinated with a second vaccine. The performance of the play last session in which Lee Sang-yoon is appearing with Oh Young-soo and Shin Gu, who won the Best Supporting Actor award for The Squid Game, has been cancelled. The last session side said, the performance from the 29th to the 31st will be cancelled due to the Corona-19 of an actor who is appearing. For last session, one of the staff tested positive for the rapid antigen, so the performance the day before was also cancelled. He added, as a result of testing by other actors and staff, all of them have come out negative so far. As the COVID-19 Omicron mutation spreads, the number of new confirmed cases in Korea recorded 17,000 on the 30th. This broke the all-time high for 6 days in a row. As of midnight on the same day, the Central Quarantine Countermeasures Headquarters announced that there were 17,532 new confirmed cases, bringing the total to 828,637. This is an increase of 6 from the 17,526 new confirmed cases the day before. The authorities originally announced that the total number of people was 17,542 the day before, but as cases were confirmed from some local governments including Jeonbuk, the number was corrected to 17,526, excluding 16 from the total. As a result, the number of confirmed cases surged after the spread of the Omicron mutation, setting a new high for 6 days in a row since the 25th. Recently, at the new car presentation of Tadadiwoo commercial vehicle, a beautiful female host who led the presentation without any sign of nervousness is attracting attention. He showed off his fluent English and finished the presentation perfectly. Creative director Mr. Sen was a virtual human made with artificial intelligence technology, a creative director from the UK studying abroad in his early 30s who was responsible for the presentation. According to the industry on the 29th, Tadadiwoo Commercial Motors appointed Ms. Sen, who has fluent English skills and expertise in commercial vehicles, as the presenter at the new car announcement event on the 24th. As soon as he appeared on stage after being introduced by CEO Bang Shin-kim, he greeted with a fluent English pronunciation and introduced the new car skillfully while speaking Korean and English fluently. Ms. Sen directly introduced 2 new cars in the metaverse space, drawing attention with their smooth movements. He made natural gestures and appropriate gestures that fit the content of the presentation, and he did not forget to smile. Ms. Sen is the first virtual human in the automobile industry implemented by Tadadiwoo using artificial intelligence technology. He is working under the setting of creative director of Tadadiwoo commercial vehicle. Ms. Sen predicted various activities in the future, saying, as the creative director of Tadadiwoo, I will do various activities to meet you. After the presentation, CEO Kim went back on stage to face Ms. Sen and thanked Ms. Sen, who stood next to him. Recently, the number of cases where virtual humans are put into online and offline events is increasing. Besides Ms. Sen, on the 27th, Citus Studio X's virtual human ROZY was active as a moderator on Xinyan Life's YouTube. LG Electronics virtual human Riakim introduced LG products in fluent English as a speaker at the LG Electronics press conference at the CES 2021, an electronics and IT exhibition held in Las Vegas last year. Thank you for watching today.